Welcome to Everyday Superhumans, the podcast where we interview ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. I'm your host, Kyle.
And I'm Caroline. And today marks our first episode and our first guest, Jonathon Foret.
Woo! This guy was awesome. Like, holy crap. You had fun interviewing him, didn't you?
I did, and he has amazing hair.
Yeah, for sure that. It's beautiful hair, ladies. I think he's single. You might want to check with him first.
Oh, he is.
All right.
But down to really who he actually is.
Other than his superhuman beautifulness.
It's great. He is the executive director of South Louisiana's Wetlands Discovery Center, which we got to tour.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nonprofit dedicated to bringing awareness to Louisiana's disappearing coast, which is a major problem, and they're tackling it head on.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to bring awareness to everybody around them, especially in South Louisiana, who are actually affected by this. It's a huge issue that he has dedicated most of his time to. But before all this, he was a Peace Corps volunteer for 2 years in the Kingdom of Tonga.
And he's just an all-around badass humanitarian.
Mm-hmm. You'll see him whenever the podcast happens, but he was spectacular. But quick introduction of who we are. I'm Kyle. I'm a mechanical engineer by day and a public speaker by hobby. This is kind of like a joint venture between me and my co-host Caroline, who is
I'm a Caroline. That's right. And I also am known as Care Bear, Carrie, Carol. The list goes on and on. But I'm a journalist. And fun fact, I did get a film degree. And yes, I do have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I don't know how all that worked out, but now I'm here making a podcast.
Yeah, a podcast about those around us who are doing everything that they can with their time, money, or skills to make their community or their personal lives a better place. They aren't Bill Gates or Ellen DeGeneres, and they can't fly like Superman.
Damn.
I know.
Where are we right
now? So this is the Bayou Terrebonne Water Life Museum. And so this is a parish facility that they allow us to use the office spaces upstairs, and then also we program the space. So we'll bring groups of students in, and we'll do summer camps and things like that. But the organization that I work for is called the South Louisiana Wetlands Discovery Center. So the Wetlands Discovery Center is a completely different facility that's not built yet, but hopefully it looks like fall of 2016 we'll be starting construction on that facility. Oh, wow. And it's like a campus of buildings.
I've seen some pictures of it.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. It's like our first phase is a live wetlands exhibit and an outdoor educational pavilion. And we're doing that first because we won't have to air condition a whole building, and it'll sort of be like our satellite location. We will still have our offices here, but we'll do our programs out there. So I think it's going to be neat. And then as we raise the money, we'll be able to build out the next phase.
What got you into public service? Because I know a lot of people down here work in the oil field. Like my company, we build boats for the oil field.
Yeah.
Like what got you into the public service side and not the profit side?
I love what I do. Like I really do love my work, and I love working with people. I guess I've volunteered a lot, and it doesn't bother me to work hard and not make money off of it because I've done it so much. Like it just kind of feels natural. Now that doesn't make my mortgage easy to pay. You know? But I mean, I remember being maybe 15 or 16. And my mom was an administrator in a school system, like elementary schools. She was a principal. And so I volunteered at the school board office during the summers. And I don't think I had a choice. I don't know. Maybe I did, but my mom was just like, okay, so this is what you're going to do, and you're going to help out because these folks need some help. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I had fun. I really did have a good time. I was in the Peace Corps as well. I mean, flash forward.
Peace Corps
Peace
at
Corps.
the age of...
No, I think maybe 18.
Right.
Wow, you were a Peace Corps.
How was
it?
I applied to the Peace Corps before I got a job down here.
Yeah.
And I'd said no to the offer to focus on my career.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I did the Peace Corps too.
You can always do it whenever you want.
I'm considering that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm considering like just building up my resume a bit for engineering, and then after that take like 2 years off.
But it would be, and you should, You really should.
Where did you go for it? What was your country?
I went the Kingdom of Tonga in the South Pacific. So it was right next to Fiji.
Oh.
Yeah, it was intense. It was really intense.
Teach English? Or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so I guess I jumped too far.
Yeah, I guess we should rewind a little bit.
No, I just
you
jumped.
got me with Peace Corps.
Excited.
So I think that my parents, both of them, sort of instilled in me a sense of giving back to other people in our community. And so I finished my degree in English, and then I taught English for a little while here, and then went to New York City and taught English there for a bit.
Wow.
And then I was walking the same stretch of sidewalk. It was my second year teaching there, and I sort of had a little mental breakdown of, I don't want to, in 30 years, I don't want to still walk the same stretch of sidewalk, and this should just be it, and this is my life. I love teaching. I love my students for sure, but I needed to do something drastically different. And so I made my students do social studies projects on all of the countries where Peace Corps had programs within. And then they voted to see where they were going to send me. So they just said, we think you'll have more fun in the South Pacific. And so that's where they sent me. And I continued to write back to them all during their next school year.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's awesome.
we kind of kept sort of a pen pal thing going on so they could understand what that experience felt like. But the Peace Corps was, that sort of grounded me. Like, I don't know if this makes sense, but it's sort of, the only way that I can, I guess, say it is I wanted to, like, rip my skin off. I wanted to be raw. I wanted to know that this is who I am at base level, and then sort of build myself back up into something.
Actually know that feeling because I've been struggling with that myself.
Yeah.
Like, I know exactly how that feels. I haven't actually had the experience, but I know the I guess the precursor feeling. Like, it's like, this is it.
Yeah, and you have to go somewhere and get yourself outside of your box or your comfort zone in order to find out who you really are. That's what I
and that's what that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I got. And so when you're in the Peace Corps, you go through like 2 months language and culture training where they teach you to speak the language. It's very intense. I mean, like you're in it to win it. Yeah. And so then you live with a family that's a homestay, and so you're constantly learning about language because you're hearing it and you're having to speak it, and it's a great way to really learn a language quickly. But so the director there, when it came time for placement, decided to put me on an outer island because my language skills were strong and my fishing skills were strong. I mean, I grew up working on a trawl boat.
Louisiana boy.
Yeah,
everybody knows how to fish.
That's true.
Not me.
So they put me. There had never been a Peace Corps volunteer on this island before. There were maybe 64. The population of the island was 64.
That's it.
No electricity, no running water. I mean, we're on an outer island. The boat ride. I want to say the boat ride was like 14 or 15 hours, and it was amazing. One of the most difficult things, you probably get used to the outhouse and no electricity and no running water within 2 weeks. Honestly,
I thought it'd be longer.
Honestly, like within 2 weeks, it was just sort of like, this is how life is, and it felt good actually. It kind of felt
like a relief. Like
yeah.
You didn't.
Like
well,
there was.
What about a phone?
No
phone, obviously. I'm a millennial, and I just went
How do you
straight
know about
to
your
my
iPhone?
phone.
There was a phone on the island that was like solar powered with a big tall tower that worked occasionally.
That's
it didn't work all the time, but there was like a means. For example, I would get a phone call, and then somebody would have to run to the school where I was teaching and say, hey, you have a phone call. Then I'd have to run to the phone, and by that time, like, the person was gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, there was only one phone line. Who answered it? Who had the...
Whoever's close to the
was,
phone.
Like, around? Was it in a building?
It was sort of like in just a little shack.
Okay.
Like a little,
So it was...
And that's sort of like how the island worked. It's sort of like the island was the house, and then all of the little places where we lived were like rooms of that house. Because like people, and sharing was not, that took a little bit for me to get used to as well, because you don't have to ask to use something that somebody else has. You
Really?
just take it,
Oh.
and you go use it, and eventually you bring it back. You know, so like my cast net would go missing all the time. And at the beginning, it was very upsetting to me because I'm like, I brought this all the way from Louisiana. Like, I need to know where it's at and, you know, who's using it. But then eventually, like, it just didn't matter anymore.
Huh.
It really
That
didn't.
is-
So
yeah.
people just used it, and then eventually you find out where it was. And nobody really got worked up too much about
Did
anything.
you go snooping around at other people?
I didn't. I really didn't. Even though I could have. Even though I could have.
Man, I mean,
I need this.
I need this.
You know? So the pigs are a big thing in Tonga. They roast pigs in the umu, like the earthen ovens. It's delicious. But they do a lot of rutting, and they destroy vegetable gardens and stuff like that. So I was out cutting trees, little trees, to make a fence to keep them out of a community garden that we planted. And we had bush knives, and I hit into the tree, and it ricocheted out and went into my leg.
Oh.
The bush knife did. So I have this gaping wound on my leg. There's no doctors. There are no nurses on my island. There's nothing like that. And like,
Do you
and
guys have a first aid
I
kit?
had never had. I had an extended medical kit because they knew that I was very far away from anybody. So I had antibiotics, and and they told you, okay, if this happens, you need to take this. So it was sort of like I had my own little pharmacy ready to go. So I was wearing a bandana. I took the bandana off and then tied up my leg and then hobbled back and took the bottle of peroxide and just bubbled it, and it was disgusting. And then put the meat back together, and then it was the butterfly. Well, no, I'm not that hardcore. I'm not that
Your
hardcore.
meat together,
But
you mean?
yeah, I had to put my meat together.
Just wanting a visual
Yeah.
for the.
And the butterfly stitches weren't gonna cut it, so like I had to push the meat back together and then tie it with a tape, right?
Oh,
it was disgusting. So then I'm freaking out, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, what's happening? Like, how do I need a doctor, or somebody, something, you know? And so other people heard that I had cut myself real bad, so other people in the village were coming. And it was all, I guess it's all just surreal because I'm like, I need to get this stitched. And they were like, yeah, there might be a boat going tomorrow. I don't think there's any boats going today. And it was always like that.
it's like casual too.
Yeah,
right?
it was always like, maybe tomorrow there'll be a boat.
Like, no biggie.
And I'm
we've
like,
seen
can I?
worse.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Like,
but they have.
But
And so they were like, you're going to survive. Don't be a baby about it. You're such an American.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Tongan up, buddy.
Yeah. Well, and I thought like Bayou, Cajun people are strong.
Yeah.
but
Stronger than us suburbanites, that's for
yeah,
sure.
Suburbanites are weak, man. What?
So luckily the next day they were like, okay, there's a boat going. So I'm hobbling to the beach. And it was beautiful. I mean, like sandy beaches, all those tropical fish swimming that you can see in the.
So it's clear waters.
So beautiful. It's crystal clear.
Well, that's a good.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
at least
Despite the
you were
injury,
settled
at least
by
you get
that,
something to look at.
So,
even though your meat was all over
so
the place.
but this is what's so funny. I get into the boat, and so I'm sitting on like the side of the boat and propped my leg up on the other side of the boat. So this is not a big boat. Like
Oh, that's a tiny boat.
I'm like this.
It's like a canoe then.
Yeah, it was with a little
tiny.
15 horsepower motor
Wow.
in the Pacific Ocean. So as we're going, I'm thinking, this is hardcore. Like in my head, I'm like,
You're thinking
how
you're
did I
pretty-
get here?
You're pretty badass.
Like this is
right
my
now.
life, and like this is nuts. And like I'm looking, and it's just all beautiful. And then there's the humpback whales that are
God, that's
breaching.
surreal.
So like the boat is the size of this table, and the whales are like 3 times bigger than the boat that going to the next island an hour away because
Oh,
there's a
holy crap.
medical technician. She ain't a doctor. She's not even a nurse. She's not. She just kind of runs the.
So
At
she's
that
like
the
point,
little
I
hospital.
think I would either feel like I was high,
It was
like
crazy.
an out of body
It was.
experience,
That's exactly what it felt like.
or I would have passed out.
It was.
Oh, I would have
intense.
passed out. That's for sure.
So we get there, and the medical technician is washing her clothes outside, like we all do in a big bucket, and you're washing your clothes by hand, and you have to. And so she sees me hobbling, and so she calls me into the little hospital, I guess, it's the medical building. And I sit down, and she props my leg up on the windowsill, because there's no light. There's no lights. So, she
Yeah.
needed to see.
Oh
true.
yeah.
So, the light from the window, she's looking at that. And so she takes a bottle of clear liquid, and I'm thinking it's rubbing alcohol. And she pours it on, and I'm inside, and there's nothing to catch it,
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah.
psh, clean it out. And I'm waiting for it to really sting so bad,
Yeah.
and it doesn't.
What's it
It's
for?
just like clean water.
Oh.
It's just like water from the cistern or something,
Oh.
with probably dead rats in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's some nasty stuff at the bottom of
Yeah.
the seam that just festered there. So then it was like, okay, and then she pulls out the suture, and I'm thinking do I get a belt to bite down on, or do I get a shot of whiskey?
Yeah, I
Or,
guess
Yeah.
stickers.
how
something.
can something? And no, and you know what? I guess the wound had been open for so long, it really didn't hurt.
Yeah, you were
I
numb
felt
to
it. I
everything,
felt
probably.
it, but it didn't. It wasn't painful.
Your body
and
was
so,
probably in shock.
So she stitches me up. It was the first time in my life I've had stitches, and it was the lady in Tonga.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
And you know what was the most refreshing part of that? She didn't ask me my name. She didn't ask me for my insurance.
For your social
She didn't
security number.
There was no questions asked. She saw that I had a problem. She knew how to fix it, and she did. And then I went on my way.
Oh, if only,
There were
if
no-
it was only that easy
Wow.
here.
There were no forms to fill out. There was no, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. Why can't we do this? Just help people and fix them. If you know how to fix people, then do it.
Because we love bureaucracy here. That's-
And I get it. People need to make money and stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. But so that happened, and then we were going to leave, but the seas got a little bit rough.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't able to go back. So I was like, okay, well, we'll just wait for the next day because it's a little bitty boat. Well, the reason why the seas got rough is because Hurricane Vaianu was on its way.
Oh,
No,
no.
so
And
you get
so
the
then-
earthquake, this, and then the hurricane.
So then we got slammed with a hurricane, and we had to stay on Namuka, which was the bigger island, and wait till the hurricane passed. Everything got shredded, like you can imagine. Roofs ripped off. And so then we had to wait till the seas would calm down before we could go back to our island. We finally got there, me limping, and our island was shredded too, So then we began the process of, but
So
that's
you really
something I
worked it
know.
out for you then.
I know how to recover from a hurricane.
Yeah,
you know what I
grew
mean?
down here.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
earthquakes
We
freak me out, but
Yeah.
the hurricanes, I
I
was
know
okay with.
tornadoes. I don't know anything else. That's all I think.
Tornadoes freak me out,
I
too.
know
Like, I can't do
tornadoes. I have
I'm
no
used to
idea
tornadoes.
about
Yeah.
hurricane.
I'm not
That's-
into that. I'm not into tornadoes.
I like basements.
Yeah.
They don't have them here.
No, right? It would be swimming pools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there would be.
And then I remember all of these things sort of happened at the same time. And I got onto the big boat to go back to Nuku'alofa, the capital city, because it was like, I need to talk to some people. This has been really rough, and I just need to go relax over there, and then I can come back. And I remember, this is one of my epiphanies, I guess. On that boat, my mind went to It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Oh,
It was really weird but like that was like my safe place. So
Yeah.
like I'm in this situation where I'm just like I had to zone someplace else.
Yeah.
My mind protected itself
Yeah.
by playing It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown
Yeah.
for 15 hours while I was on that boat.
Wow.
And I just saw each of the different scenes, and I was enjoying it in my head.
Yeah.
That'd make a really weird experience.
was-
Like
what
your
we
brain's like
were
trying to
going
comfort
to.
you by just thinking
Yeah.
outside like
Yeah.
of where you're from.
Because that was sort of like my safe place.
Yeah. But
Even though that's
everybody has a safe
Yeah.
place when you think about it.
Yeah. So you were talking about coming home, and I was talking about going to see a therapist. The Peace Corps actually gives you vouchers to get a physical when you come home, and you have to get tested for like parasites.
Yeah, which
and,
makes
you know,
sense.
to make sure.
It's a public
That's it. I
institution.
was so thin in the Peace Corps because sometimes I would get food poisoning, and that's just
I think that's common. Like,
it
typically,
really is.
That's gonna happen.
And you just like get used to it after a while. You're just like, okay, well, it's this is
Okay,
happening
I
again.
guess I'm
so
gonna throw up
let,
for a day.
let me just
No
make sure I'm
problem.
hydrated.
Grab my bucket.
And then there's I think it's called Cipro, which was the stuff that you the pill that you take that just zaps your insides and kills anything that is bad.
Ooh.
So I did that. So I came back. And again, they give you a voucher to go see a therapist if you need to when you got back. So this isn't like I didn't have an isolated incident. Like this is what happens
Yeah, I've heard
because
it's pretty common.
you're living on a little bitty island, you know, and you're in it with a different, like it's a different set of rules. Like the culture is completely different. That was the most difficult thing to deal with, was how different the culture was. Then, after 2 years, you're just about figuring it out, and then you have to come back into the culture that is
Yeah.
yours.
Oh, that
So
would
you get
be
like this
rough.
kind of weird like
But
dissonance.
I turned into like an island man. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like
yeah.
very distant. So I come home. My parents picked me up from the airport, and it was wonderful to see them. And my mom was like, "Okay, we're gonna stop at the store." So you can get some deodorant, a toothbrush, like all my little toiletries. Because I didn't have anything. And because I left all that, I gave whatever I had to the people on the island and came back with nothing. And so we go to Walmart, which was probably the worst thing.
That's
Oh.
a terrible place to go after that.
It's
was-
already scary to begin with.
It was.
It's like, oh my gosh, Walmart.
It was. And so we go in, and my mom's like, "Okay, well, you know, get a little basket, and you go get what you need, and then meet me, you know, by the registers." And I'm like, "Okay." And so the first thing immediately, like, I just look up and you should try this next time you're in any of those huge box stores. And the fluorescent lighting is so impressive. Next time you have the opportunity, look up into any of those box stores, and it's very impressive. So I was just focused on the ceiling as I was walking through it, and it's huge. And so then I turn and I look, and I'm at the cereal aisle. And I hadn't eaten cereal in 2 years, you know? And in the capital city at the time, there were like the equivalent of like Rice Krispies and cornflakes. That's what was available in the capital.
That was it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I turn down the aisle, and it's a wall of cereal. Like it's taller than me, and it seems like it goes on for a mile. And I'm walking down, and I'm just like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm angry.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of like, this is unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we doing? Like, we've got it all wrong. And so then I put down my little basket, and I walked out, and I went sit outside on the little bench. And then my mom couldn't find me. I didn't have a cell phone. So finally, she found me, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm just like, "I just need to leave. I need you to take me away from here." And so we went home, and I'll be honest with you, and my friends, my very close friends, it was a difficult time for them too, because they didn't know how to interact with me, and they didn't know, because I didn't know what I was different.
Yeah.
And they were the same, and I had gone through this process that I ripped my skin off, which was exactly what I wanted to do, to get down to the base level. And then that was hard. That lasted maybe for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
You know?
And you probably had like PTSD,
Yeah,
right?
something.
Post-traumatic syndrome.
Is that what inspired you to come back here and like start being more community focused, like trying with the wetlands?
I don't know. I mean, it definitely, it grounded me. It made me, it certainly influenced. Oh, I got a gig with United Nations.
Oh,
so,
wait,
yeah.
really?
Wow.
So are you still working for them by any
No,
chance?
no,
I was like,
no.
that's so cool. You're a UN
You
agent?
should have
Yeah.
started with that.
No. So I did the Bangladesh gig, and so that because the funding was pulled for that, the United Nations also had a program in the Asia Pacific region working with people with disabilities, monitoring, evaluation kind of thing. So I did that for a while, and then all of my colleagues were asking me what my master's was in. And I just had a bachelor's in English.
Yeah.
I just
Oh
had
my
an English
gosh.
degree.
Really? And
That
then
is so great, though,
yeah.
because I feel like a lot of millennials think you have to have so much education, and then
Just have to
you're
be willing
in
to
debt.
put in, yeah.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
But you have to, yeah,
yeah.
that's very hopeful.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. I did. If I wanted to continue working with UN and try to compete for higher level jobs and whatnot, I needed to get my master's, and so I decided to come back to the States and get my master's in public administration.
Okay, so then you
at
did
UNO.
get your master's.
I did.
So now
but
I look like a hypocrite.
no, but I did it after I had done the work. But,
Okay, yeah.
But it's just sort of like I wanted to be able to compete for those jobs.
Yeah.
and I
All
knew
right, yeah, you do.
that
You-
I needed to have that because they
you
did.
do need
you know,
your master's.
master's is
Never
like the
mind,
new
kids.
bachelor's.
You need your master's. I'm just jealous.
And so, so I did that and was a grant writer for the Louisiana State Museum while I was going to UNO. And after I graduated with the intention of going back to work overseas, a woman on the board of directors for the organization that I work for now approached me and said, "Why are you going to try to fix other people's problems when we have so many problems that we need help with here?" And nobody really told me that before.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, I'll think about this and let's give it a shot. And so I guess that was, 5 years ago now I've been with the Discovery Center. And I love it. And I love being able to spend time with my family and friends here.
Mm-hmm.
I love my board of directors. Like the board
Oh, you don't hear that ever.
The board that I work with, they're amazing. Like amazing group of people. We're like a family. We really are like a family. So I'm excited about the work that I'm doing now. And we're making progress, you know.
So what's being done? I know awareness is one thing. Like, are you doing like coordinating with other like civil engineering firms, just like that, to like build better levees, or?
We don't we're not at that level. I
Okay.
guess we're
Still
more
in
middle
the early
school.
phases.
Well, we're more middle school and high school education. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we do, and not just them. Like we have a program called Vanishing Points.
Yeah, we were looking at that last night. It was a very, I guess, emotional.
Yeah.
Feel. Like we were really affected by it.
Yeah. And so we work with some of our kids to identify points of cultural interest down to a snowball stand. That's important to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're able to, give information about that particular point.
Mm-hmm.
Some points that are no longer there even. So it's more about raising awareness. It's more about educating the students on how they're going to have to think to stay living here, or if they want to make the decision to move, what does that look like, and at what cost? And two fun stories that I've learned while doing this work. I have a Nutra story, and then I have a hurricane recovery story. Let's go to the hurricane recovery story first. I never realized how the oil industry helps us to recover from a storm. All of the guys that work offshore have to go through all this safety training over and over again.
Yeah.
All of these guys are, not all of them, but they're welders. They know how to build and construct and fit things. So when it comes time for a storm, I think that we're very prepared as a community to recover from it, because our people are trained to work offshore, but then that same skill set translates into recovery of when things get broken and things need to be repaired. Our people really do have a skill set to be able to bounce back from that. And I never thought of that before. You know what I mean? The other thing, nutria. I love nutria.
Can you explain what
yeah,
a nutria looks like?
A nutria looks like a big rat. It's like a big swamp rat. It kind of looks like a beaver, but it has a rat tail, and it has big orange teeth.
Like on the Princess Bride?
Yeah, it's not quite as large, but it kind of is. Yeah, it's a
do
little
the
like that.
rougarou and the nutria hang out?
I think they do.
Probably are.
I think they do. So the nutria are invasive, and they're really horrible for the wetlands because they eat all the plants and the roots, and then the dirt just sort of washes out.
They have those big teeth.
Yeah. So one thing I never thought about, so nutria were brought here for their furs, and so they're kept on farms because they're really from South America.
Yeah.
So they were kept on farms. Then either they were turned loose or a hurricane come and broke open the cage and they got out. So then they start going crazy in the swamps and they just multiply like rabbits.
And that's not
they
very good for the
multiply
ecosystem,
nutria.
right?
Yeah, no, it's horrible. But the trappers were trapping them for their pelts because they were getting like $12, $13 a pelt in like the 40s, 50s.
So probably
around
like
that.
$25, $30
Yeah, yeah. So it was good. It was good, for them. So then as time progresses, the animal rights movement gains a lot of momentum. And this was maybe in the 80s, I believe, 70s, 80s, when during the fashion shows in New York, people were throwing red paint and ketchup all over the fur coats and saying, that it was inhumane, whatnot. And they were very successful at what they were doing. They ran a very successful campaign to the point where people stopped wearing fur, which made the price of the nutria pelt drop to like $2.
Oh.
So it was no longer cost effective for people to trap nutria. So they decided not to anymore.
Oh.
And the nutria population
So that didn't help at all.
exploded down here.
And
there was so many nutria that, it became a huge, huge problem. And then the wildlife and fisheries came in within the last decade, I guess, to do this bounty program. Mm-hmm. So now you go out, you shoot the nutria, you cut off its tail, and you bring the tail in, and you get $5 for the tail.
Wow.
Because they're invasive, and they want to get rid of all of the nutria. But now instead of the fur being used for clothing or anything, it just rots in the marsh. I'm sure other animals and vultures come and eat it, but never would I have put the pieces together to think that the animal rights activists are partially responsible for coastal land loss in Louisiana.
It's true. You would never think
I would
that.
have never thought about that. And look, I love animals. Like I'm all about it. I share that story with my kids, my students, because I want them thinking like, wow, we may think that our cause is noble, but we really need to make sure that we look at the big picture of how what we're going to do is going to affect everything,
Which is a great perspective to have, to realize how everything can influence it.
Yeah. I had a pet nutria. He actually, unfortunately, died this year. And he was a sweetheart. His name was Tinu.
Oh.
Yeah, he was cute.
How long do they live usually?
In captivity, a good 12, 13 years supposedly, but he was just 2.
Oh.
But I think he got he ate something bad. Yeah. And their mouths are really weird.
Yeah.
Because water doesn't get into their throats. They're it's kind of closed. They get all of their fluid through the plants and stuff that they eat, right? And so he stopped eating for a while, but I think he dehydrated because I think his stomach was a little upset, and so he didn't feel like eating. But if I would have brought him to a vet and they put him on an IV, he probably would have been okay.
Yeah. And then people probably bring exotic animals all the time to vets around here. I feel like people have more exotic
Oh,
animals.
more exotic than like a dog or a cat.
Yeah, right.
Korea.
Yeah. And no, I had to get a license to carry him. Well,
Okay.
not carry, license. Concealed
Concealed
nutria
Steal and
permit.
carry
Well,
nutrients. Watch out, those teeth will get you.
But yeah, because I used him for educational purposes. not
Okay.
as, you know,
Yeah.
because
It's
you're
like,
not supposed to
can
have. They're
anyone
invasive.
keep a
You know?
nutria? Yeah. Most importantly, what is your favorite Halloween candy?
My
hard
favorite Halloween candy.
I want to get to the hard-hitting question.
I don't know. Yeah, I really think it might be Swedish fish.
Whoa.
That I threw that one.
I've
Yeah,
never actually had those
that-
before.
I really
That was
do.
a curveball.
I really do love Swedish fish.
Those are so good.
Yeah, they're good.
I
them.
haven't had Swedish fish in so long. You've
It's
never
like
had them?
It's like gummy fish, but it's sort of like it's.
I've had like try bright crawlers. Are they like that? Like kind of gummy worms, but like a fish.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
so good. I don't see them anymore, though.
You have to
Are they
really
invasive?
look. Maybe not. They're endangered. Endangered.
Endangered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think. What's your favorite?
Snickers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite candy, Snickers, but I only get Milk Duds during Halloween, so that's my favorite Halloween candy,
Yeah.
Milk Duds. Do you have any like advice, since you're very community driven, like do you have like any like daily advice that somebody could do like for 5 minutes each day to like make their community a better place by any chance?
Don't worry about your dishes. Go and do stuff
I like that.
in your community.
I
Like
like
the
that.
dishes, you can wash them later.
Good,
but
because I haven't
like-
washed mine in a week.
Good, because you don't want to see my dishes.
I've been very
No,
philanthropic
you
this
know,
week.
but it's just about getting involved, and it may be a little bit scary in the beginning but there are so many nonprofit organizations looking for good board members that's an easy way is just to approach some of those organizations and say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about the work that you guys do,
I recently did some of that too with have you heard of Second Harvest Food Bank?
Yeah, of
Yeah, I
course.
worked with them during the springtime.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Every
it's-
Saturday
yeah.
we teach. It was a small group, like 3 people,
Yeah,
but just teaching lower income families how
Yeah.
to eat healthy.
yeah,
It was really inspiring.
yeah. And it's not rocket science. You know what I mean?
As long as you have like a hammer and time, you could help people out.
That's it. And there are also like, I get so disappointed because there are several like government appointed positions, like to the tree board or to the rec districts or to the fire districts, that like these vacancies just stay open because no one puts in an application to serve.
Yeah.
But I also think that they don't know that they can do that all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had no
Like-
idea. You just like
Yeah,
walk
I
in and
didn't
apply. I got an email saying for those who want to volunteer. That's
Yeah.
what I got.
Yeah, and I think that may be it too. Like, I think that people involved with those organizations need to do a better job of showing people how to do it, you know, or who to get involved with, or providing volunteer opportunities like the one you did,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's
just-
the little steps, too, you know.
And
you
what-
don't even have to know how,
Right.
unless you just got to try.
Yeah.
To learn more about Jonathon Foret and the South Louisiana Wetlands Discovery Center, check out their website at slwdc.org, or you can always like them on Facebook.
Everyday Superhumans is produced by Kyle and Caroline and is recorded on location. Music is composed by Alex Allen.
Here's a question for you. What's your superpower? Tweet to us at SuperhumansCast, leave us a story on Facebook.com/EverydaySuperhumans, and you can always send us a picture of your ability on Instagram.
For questions, comments, suggestions, or if you just want to say hi, you can email us at everydaysuperhumans@gmail.com.
And remember, not every hero can fly, so grab your cape and let's go.